When my son told me I was no longer welcome in his home, I didn't cry. I just smiled, nodded, and quietly picked up my old handbag. I remember my fingers shaking while I tied the small knot on the top of it. It wasn't because of anger. It was because I didn't want him to see me break. That day, I realized something about motherhood. You never stop loving, even when love isn't returned the same way anymore. The rain had started falling as I stepped outside his porch. Each drop felt like a soft goodbye from the sky. I walked slowly, not knowing where I would go, but knowing I had to walk anyway. People say time heals everything. Maybe that's true. But sometimes, even after forgiveness, the heart carries a quiet bruise that never fades. My name is Eleanor, and I'm 64 years old. For most of my life, my world revolved around two things: my son, Daniel, and the small house where we built our memories. Daniel was my only child. After my husband passed away when Daniel was 9, I promised myself I'd give him both parents in one heart. We didn't have much, but we had each other. I'd pack his lunch every morning, wave from the porch, and wait for him to turn at the corner to wave back. He always did, every single morning. I worked at a bakery for 25 years. The smell of fresh bread became the scent of our survival. Daniel used to say, "Mom, when I grow up, I'll buy you a big house so you never have to bake again." I'd smile and say, "I don't need a big house, sweetheart. I just need you." He'd roll his eyes the way teenagers do, but hug me anyway. Those were the golden years. Life changed slowly, almost quietly. Daniel grew up, went to college, met a girl named Lily, and they got married. She was polite, well-spoken, and modern, everything I wasn't. I liked her. At least, I wanted to. For a while, things were fine. They'd visit every Sunday. I'd cook Daniel's favorite pot roast, and Lily would bring dessert. But then, the visits became shorter, the hugs became fewer, and one day, they stopped coming altogether. It began with small silences, the kind that doesn't make noise but fills the room anyway. When Daniel called, his voice sounded tired, distracted. "Mom, we're just busy," he'd say. "Work's been crazy." I'd nod, even though he couldn't see me, and reply, "Of course, sweetheart. Take your time." Months passed. I didn't want to bother him, so I learned to fill my evenings with little routines: watering plants, knitting scarves, feeding the stray cats outside. Sometimes I'd catch myself cooking too much food, as if expecting someone to knock on the door. No one did. Then, one winter evening, Daniel showed up unexpectedly. His car lights flashed across the front window, and my heart leaped. I opened the door, smiling. "Daniel, you didn't tell me you were coming." He hesitated before stepping inside. "Mom, can we talk?" His tone was formal, like a stranger asking for directions. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where he once built his school projects. I noticed how he didn't look around much, just stared at his phone. He said Lily was pregnant. I was overjoyed. "A grandbaby?" I gasped. "Oh, Daniel, that's wonderful!" But he didn't smile back. He said Lily wanted space, that she felt uncomfortable visiting my old crowded house, that they'd appreciate if I called before coming by. Something inside me tightened, but I kept my voice calm. Of course, I understand. He left soon after, and I stood by the window watching his taillights disappear into the dark. The snow kept falling. It looked peaceful, but inside, everything felt frozen. Months later, I received an invitation. Daniel and Lily were hosting a baby shower. I was so excited that I baked cookies, packed tiny sweaters I'd knitted, and took the bus across town. When I arrived, the house was full of laughter, but when I entered, the laughter faded. Lily looked at me with polite surprise. "Oh, Mrs. Parker, you made it." "Of course," I said softly. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." She gave me a thin smile. Her friends whispered quietly. I felt out of place. My plain coat, my old shoes, my small gift wrapped in brown paper. Daniel came over, hugged me quickly, then got pulled away by someone else. I sat alone for most of the afternoon. When it was time for pictures, no one called me over, so I just stood at the edge, smiling for a photo I wasn't part of. That evening, I walked home under the streetlights. My hands were cold, but my heart felt colder. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Daniel. He said Lily thought I was too emotional and made people uncomfortable. He said maybe I should give them some time before visiting again. That night, I didn't cry. I just sat by the window, watching the empty street, and whispered to myself, maybe love changes. Maybe that's okay. But it wasn't okay. When their baby, little Emma, was born, I wasn't called. I found out through a Facebook post. My son's smiling face, Lily holding the baby, and a caption, "Our perfect family." No mention of me. Not even a text. Weeks later, I finally gathered the courage to visit. I brought a small gift, a knitted blanket, soft and yellow like sunlight. When I knocked, Lily opened the door. She looked uncomfortable. "Daniel's not home," she said quickly. "That's all right. I just wanted to drop this off for the baby." She took it, nodded, and said, "Thank you. We'll call you." Then the door closed. That click echoed louder than thunder. Months passed before I saw Daniel again. He showed up one afternoon, looking restless. "Mom," he began, "Lily and we think it's better if you don't come by anymore. It's causing tension." I looked at him. He couldn't meet my eyes. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked quietly. He sighed. "It's not that. It's just, we need our own space." I smiled, not out of happiness, but to protect him from guilt. "All right," I said softly, "if that's what you need." He nodded, stood up, and left. And that was the last time he came to my house. Days turned into months, then years. I learned to live with silence. The kettle still whistled every morning. I still set 2 cups on the table, out of habit. One for me, one for the memories. Sometimes, when I walked past the park, I'd see mothers with their sons. I'd smile, even when it hurt. One summer, I got a postcard. It was from Daniel. He wrote, "Mom, I'm sorry for everything. We've moved to Seattle. Emma starts school this fall. Hope you're well. No return address. Just those few words. I sat with that postcard for a long time. It wasn't much, but it was something. That night, I whispered to the quiet room, I forgive you, Daniel. I always did. But forgiveness doesn't erase the ache. It just teaches you how to carry it gently. Years later, I moved into a small assisted living home by the lake. It's peaceful here. Birds in the morning, warm tea in the evening. Sometimes the nurse brings me her phone to show family photos. I nod and smile. Once, she showed me a picture of a young man with his little girl feeding ducks by the water. I looked closely. It was Daniel and Emma. She must be about 10 now. He looked happy, and I was glad, truly glad. I'll never forget the pain, how it felt to lose the one person I loved most. But I've learned that love isn't measured by how often someone calls. It's measured by how deeply you wish them peace, even from afar. Every evening, I sit by the window and watch the sunset paint the lake gold. I think about Daniel, about little Emma, about the home that once was. And I whisper a prayer, not for them to come back, but for them to be okay. Because sometimes forgiveness isn't about reunion. It's about release. It's about choosing peace over pride. It's about saying, I forgive you, and still letting the pain teach you how to love quietly. The pain never faded, but it became softer, like a memory wrapped in sunlight.